Hello and welcome to the Dittonworks YouTube channel, where today I'm at Signals HiFi. I've come down here to have a listen to Dynaudio's brand new line of speakers. We're going to start with the Emit 10s, which are the smaller ones in the series. They go up and up and up. But these are brand new speakers. They came out literally a couple of months ago. So it's a great opportunity for me to have a listen to literally something brand new to tell you guys exactly what I think of it. Let's have a closer look at the speakers. We'll discuss their design, some of the technologies that's in there, and the rest of the range. And then ultimately, we'll have a listen. These are the Dynaudio Emit 10s. There's several in the series, so they're getting bigger, 20, next size up, 30, floor standard, and so on and so forth. But the really interesting thing about these speakers is things like this. So this Silk Soft Dome tweeter, Serotar tweeter, is from the next series up. So the more expensive model, these tweeters are the same. So you're getting filtered down technology. The tweeter actually shares some common characteristics with the absolute flagship ones that are in the main room through there. We've got Dynaudio's polymer cone material, which is incredibly stiff, and this really nice, quite soft rubber surround. This is obviously how the bass driver is able to achieve that enormous bass extension. You've got an interesting port on the back, which looks like the rifling from naval guns. And the idea there is obviously to reduce port chuffing. Now, I've been listening to these all morning, and there is no port chuffing whatsoever. That works very, very well. Aesthetically, well, you're never going to get real wood veneers on a speaker at this price. But what I hate on really cheap speakers is that horrible wrap. That wrap that looks like wood because it looks cheap. What Dynaudio have done is opted for their entry-level speaker, but they've not made it look cheap. They've gone for an embossed vinyl kind of wrap, which looks very neat, very tidy, and very modern. Nice beveled edges on the baffle, and you've got a very beautifully presented speaker. Dimensions, they're quite narrow, so you're going to get nice imaging from them, but really deep. And that real depth of cabinet is how they're able to generate that real low-end bass. Okay, that's pretty much the speaker. Let's have a listen, see how they sound. I'm going to try various different styles of music this morning. Let's see if we can really get down to the nitty-gritty of what these speakers sound like. So to start with, I'm going to try some classical music. That will demonstrate their mid-range, their detail, and some of the lighter aspects of low-frequency response. Let's give it a listen. Okay, so on classical music, you've got bags of detail. The real draw on the strings is very noticeable. And what you've got is a lovely subtle amount of LF there, that there is obviously bass from the double basses and from the cellos. But it's not overblown. You would expect that to be really in your face because Dynaudio are known for pretty bassy speakers. But that's very, very balanced, kept in check. And to me, it sounds fairly neutral. There's not enormous amounts of detail, but there's plenty and they're in balance. Let's change discs and we'll have a listen to something a little bit more modern. So we're going to change to one of my favourite bands, artists, for many different reasons. But the reason I'm going to play this today is to demonstrate the low frequencies, the bass response of these speakers. Let's try this. So LF is incredible. It's not overblown, it's incredibly deep, very solid, and it's brilliant. For a speaker of that size, you'd be well impressed with the low frequency responses, and nothing gets out of control. They're all kept in time, it's all dealt with very, very well. I can imagine that the next ones up would probably have a little bit more bass and potentially able to focus a little bit more mid-range, having a bigger driver as well. But those are very impressive on a track that's very demanding of the mid-bass driver. Last genre of music, just to fulfill my own curiosity, we're going to have a little bit of rock, because some speakers don't rock. They don't. Some speakers play really good dance music, some speakers play really good classical music, and they can't handle either. But some speakers really can't rock. So let's have a listen to these and let's see if they can rock. Well, I've got to say they rock. I think, in my opinion, these speakers will cater for a very wide variety of music, which is exactly what you want from a speaker. You don't want a speaker that only has certain strengths. Now, there's other features here as well. They're pretty small, so if your living accommodation or your listening room is not enormous, ideal. If you've got a much bigger listening room, you could go for the next ones up, or even the floor standers. No problems there at all. Or if you're into your home cinema, which I don't know that many people really still are, but if you are, those would make exceptionally good rear speakers. In my own experience, I used very good small compact speakers as rears when I had a home cinema, and they would be absolutely ideal for that. The logic there is if these speakers are good enough to play 2-channel audio that well, then they're going to be exceptionally good as home cinema rears. Okay guys, that's the Dynaudio video review today of the Dynaudio Emit 10s here at Signals HiFi. I've got to say a massive thanks to them for allowing me to do it here. I've thoroughly enjoyed being here, and I'm going to have another listen to these before I go home and edit up the video. Okay guys, take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Just a little bit about the system. This is a Name Nova, and I was using this for streaming. So when I was listening to the speakers to gain my own thoughts about them, this was what was used. So we're not using some ultra high-end equipment just to make these sound phenomenal. Yes, this is a beautiful piece of equipment, and it retails at about £4,000. But anybody who was thinking about buying a pair of speakers would probably have combined value or combined budget of about £4,000. And I think if you divided it up, that's £630 for the speakers and then the rest on the source and the amplifier around that price point, you'd have a phenomenal setup. These are absolutely excellent. You know, they're not wow speakers, they don't shout at you, there's nothing that you're just going to be blown away by apart from the bass response. I was absolutely blown away that the amount of controlled deep bass you can get from a speaker that size is impressive. And you guys should know me, I don't like loads and loads of bass. If it's overblown, I become tired of it. On a track that's got plenty of bass, you get plenty of bass. On a track that's got a kick drum or a double bass, you get that realistic sound. But it's quite surprising you get that from a speaker of that size. That's all credit to Dynaudio's engineers. the port design, the strength of the magnets, the cone extension, surround, very good tweeter. That is a very, very good, well-designed package for £630. Okay, little bonus feature at the end of this video. So the guys at Signals have very kindly allowed me to have a listen to the bigger brothers. We're now up to the Emit 20s. So exactly the same tweeter, but you've gone for a bigger bass driver. You're now up to what looks like a 6.5-inch bass driver. So the cabinet dimensions have increased accordingly. Now, reading some of the blurb on these, that it's recommended to run these flat, which we did on the first pair, and they sounded fine. When I've put these on, they started to control the room slightly, so we've moved them further away from the back wall, and I've discovered that they do need a bit of toe in. That might just be personal preference. I know I've played about with speaker position and placement in my own living room many, many times. I now know roughly where each type of speaker I own sounds best, but these particularly do sound a little bit sweeter with a touch of toe in. So I'm just going to treat you to another track from Dead Can Dance for your listening pleasure. I'll turn that back up again in a minute, but for me personally, in this room now, instantly by moving them slightly further away from the wall has controlled the bass. It's given it slightly less weight, but it's still very, very punchy and powerful, but it's brought the HF out no end, and that little bit of toe in I think is essential, to be honest with you. So realistically, I would imagine if you've got even the little brothers, a little bit of toe in would make all the difference. Okay, I'm going to give you a little bit of vocals from Dead Can Dance, and then I'm going to tie up this video here at Signals HiFi. Take care, guys.
History's never written.